Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Rockin The Love. I'm Robyn.
And I'm Gil, and we are experiencing the change of the seasons here in Albuquerque, and the sun is moved. And now it's shining right in our window, right where we are.
So, and unfortunately, our camera and lighting technicians are not available today. Therefore, we will have this kind of lighting. No, we can't do that. You've got it. You're in the dark.
I know I am. I see that, but I can't get back in the light.
Turn on the light.
Turn on the light. Okay, I'm going to turn on the light.
And in the meantime, I'm going to welcome you again and ask you to please like our page and any our social media that you find out there on Facebook or Instagram. We'd love it if you connected with us and did that thing that we do nowadays. All right, so
Welcome, everybody. It's good to have you. What are we doing today on Rockin The Love? We're talking about something about how past relationships linger on and affect our future relationships.
what's the title of our show?
Title of our show is I can't remember. I wrote it down.
Okay.
Do you remember it?
No, you wrote it down. All right. So anyway, we're gonna be talking about past relationships and how they influence our relationships now. But I thought when I was doing a little bit of research that we have to do another show because I have a good title for it.
Oh, okay.
So we have to do a more specific show when you know what we're doing, called The X Factor. EX. Right? I know Shay likes that one. Hi, Shay.
X Factor.
The X Factor. Because because this one wasn't necessarily only about like our ex relationships, but it'll be about, relationships we've let go of and how we carry them into the future, how we carry them into our current relationships. So that's our topic that we'll get to in a little bit. But before we do that, do tell, sir, how was your week?
My week has been really good in a lot of ways and extremely stressful in others. I gotta say, it's been a lot going on in the family scene and a lot going on in the work scene, and a lot of it's been positive. We've gotten a lot of things accomplished and moving forward, and it's very exciting. And I keep working through the other concerns. So it's been a mixed bag this week.
Yes.
Would you say that?
It has been a mixed bag. And I have to tell you, after our Sacred Spaces show a couple weeks ago, we told you that we ordered lots of stuff and we're creating our sacred space out on our patio and just getting things in order. And, that was very exciting. And ordering the stuff was exciting. And getting the stuff has been exciting. And then the stuff stopped. And we don't have all our stuff. And I'm like, oh, I get it. Like when people have like that shopping high, because we haven't gotten packages in a few days. I mean, and when we did, it was the umbrella stand. It wasn't as exciting as like, something juicy like the couch or the fire pit or, those kind of things. So we are patiently awaiting our couch, which apparently has been in New Jersey and is on its way. It's in Colorado.
Colorado today.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's getting closer. It is getting closer.
And I just wanted to comment. I think the issue with all of that is that it just sometimes you're like so wanting it, or you're so excited about it.
So excited.
And then it doesn't show up. But the good news is it should be here by the time our next show comes on.
It's true. But you catch the vision.
Right.
And so you're ready and you want it to unfold and you want to see what it looks like. And it doesn't always work like that. So anyway, that's been an up and a down. And then my up, of course, is that my team is going to the World Series. And I'm very excited about that. And if you're a Mets fan or a New Yorker, my condolences to you. What a season you had. And there's so much potential there, and I'm just excited that my team had it too. I'm very excited. So, and along those lines, I will give a shout out and a prayer for Fernando Valenzuela, and who passed away yesterday. And just great gratitude for what he brought to baseball. And 63 years old, he was very young, and he just made an incredible difference. And I was in an elevator with him once. Okay, probably the highlight of his career as well.
You think?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, shall we get to some good news?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I have some good news for you today, but I need to look at it really quick. Can you banter for a moment?
What really is good news? Isn't it all good news? What is the meaning of good? Okay. Well, I could tell my good news, and you could just act as if you were interested, but you're not even on the screen. Look, we're getting darker.
I know.
I'm so sorry, everybody.
Oh, that's it.
We have no producer again today.
Cancel.
Oh, look, we got lighter. Okay. Go ahead.
All right. So, all those annoying subscriptions that we sign up for these days? Everything is a subscription. And a lot of them are like, hey, sign up for your free trial. Just give us your credit card and we'll charge you $3,000 in a week. That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the federal government has finally put in some rules that say that those kinds of things have to be at least as easy to cancel as they were to sign up for. So they can't require you, if you can click a button online to sign up, they can't require you to call in, to send a letter, to talk to a chat bot, to do any of those things. You have to be able to find a place online where you can click a button and cancel. Nice. And I think that is incredibly good news.
That's fantastic.
And actually, in theory, it should save money for different people. When you discover something maybe that you forgot, you can just go in and cancel it, and it's done.
That reminds me, I got to figure out how to cancel my Audible subscription.
Right. There you go. There's one that just kind of lingers because it's a hassle to even figure it out.
It's a hassle to figure it out, and I figure, if I get one more month, one more token, someday I'll use it. Yeah. No, I think that's great. Same with my Canva for, yes, I think that's great. If I could go in and click, I would click away.
Click away.
All right.
What about you?
My good news is happening in China.
China?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's a story about a couple that created a cancer kitchen in their alley next to a cancer hospital. And what that is it's a place they created for family members to be able to come and cook cancer patients a home-cooked meal. And they found that, so many people when they're in their hospital really want a home-cooked meal or want good food or they're craving something. And so they found the need for this, and they started this. They had a restaurant. This couple had a restaurant that was right next to the hospital that got demolished, and there was still just that need and people asking for that. So for the equivalent of 32 cents a day, anyone can use the kitchen space that they've set up. And wow. And they found in one, there was a couple in 2003 when they started this, there was a couple that came to them with their child, and their child said, I don't want treatment. I just want a meal cooked by my mom. And that's how, this kind of began. And yeah, as time passed, they added more things, more utensils, more appliances, stoves, ovens, and gradually there was donations and things like that. They got electricity, and also they got a grant that allows them now to. The local government funded like a renovation, and they moved it indoors, and there's equipment for more than like 20 cooking positions and ventilators, and it's so it's all gotten upgraded. And yeah, I think that's a really beautiful thing. I mean, I think how incredible would that be to have in other places, places where you just want to feel like normal.
And what you just mentioned, the whole idea of having a vision, and here's something 21 years down the road that is continued to expand and grow, probably even beyond what they first imagined, and able to serve many more people.
Right.
But they had a picture of what it could be, and they took that picture and ran with it.
Right.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yes, very cool. So that's the good news from all around the world. God, and there's so much of it, everybody. Really, when I'm trying to pick out a story, there's so many things. There's so that we just don't think about. We don't hear about because we're hearing about, what we're hearing about. So without going into that, let's take a break so we can get back to this and figure out, what role our old relationships play and what we can, how we can move through that. All right. We'll do that right after the break. So don't go away. Come right back here to New Thought Media Network.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors, Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Here we are. Welcome back to Rockin The Love. Sorry about that. I am your producer today, which makes me have to think, and I apologize.
All right, I am Robyn, and this is Gil, and we are Rockin The Love. So today we're talking about what we bring into our current relationships from our past relationships. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, how is there any relationship once you're past perhaps, your first 10, 12 years of life? There's virtually no relationship you walk into that isn't some kind of recreation of an old one you've had. You know what I mean? And it's like it's a significant other, it's a job, it's a school, it's a something that you relate to, and you have some past experience with that relationship. And so the question is, how do we work with the old stuff to bring it, to allow it to inform our new relationships without allowing it to damage them, or allowing it to push us, for us to not even realize how we damage the new because of what we brought in.
Right. How do we?
All right, folks, there's the question. We'd love to hear from you, because there aren't any easy answers. There really aren't, because the whole process, I've come to discover, our whole process of growing is this process of letting go of what's been and of accepting what is. And so it's a lot of letting go, but the only way we can let go is if we realize we're holding on.
Well, and some people let go easier than others. And do they really let go? I mean, I think there's all different levels to the question. And how important is it to let go? I mean, as Shay brought up last week, when she said, she thought about her ex, and that wasn't necessarily bad. Sometimes you think about those relationships, and that's great. There's good input that you're putting into it. Maybe you're calling on something you've learned. And so I think, the first step is probably something to do with discernment, and really, when you're unconsciously bringing in what's held you back, maybe in other relationships, or
even as you said, the good things of a previous relationship or experience.
Mm-hmm.
If we're hanging on to that, it can affect our ability to experience the good that may be different where we are.
Right. And also, one of the things I think it has to do with is also attachment styles, because we all attach in relationships differently.
I sure know what I do not want from past relationships. Well, I think, Shay, I agree with you. I think we often think that, but then I wonder, is that really true? Do we really realize what we don't want, or do we just think we know? I mean, have we looked at it enough to really know, to really have some understanding of what needs to go? Because, as I've said to Robyn and repeated in other places, in my experience of being married and divorced, etc., I have come to discover that the only person that's in all of those relationships is me. Therefore, I better figure out what's going on with me, because it's not necessarily about the relationship per se. It's about me in the relationship, or who I picked, or whatever that thing is, you know?
Yeah, I do know. I do know. And I think, it's interesting because I also think, depending upon your age or stage, there's different things that each partner brings into the relationship. Like when we were first married over 20 years ago, or in relationship 24 years ago, starting
Yesterday. But who's counting? No one's counting. Actually, starting in person yesterday.
Yeah, we celebrated an in-person anniversary yesterday. But when we were starting, so 24 years ago, with 24 years less life experience, we both brought in other things to the relationship, that now perhaps we would deal with on our own.
Right.
In some ways. I mean, not that the relationship isn't always there, but there's pieces of it that you don't know what you know until you know, right?
Right.
And so
we could walk in, if I walked into a relationship at 60 versus at 40, hopefully I would have of myself and previous relationships and what I needed to bring and not bring and all that kind of stuff. And recognize it when it showed up somewhere.
So Shay says that after 5 years of being single, she's pretty clear on what she wants. There are lists.
There are lists.
And she's, I'm clear, I'm sober, I've healed, I'm working on myself, and I'm not even close to the same person who made the old choices I used to make. So much better. Yeah, which is so great and so telling and exactly what we're saying, right? About if you do a relationship between 40 and 60 or 20 and 40, there's just different things you've gone through. But also in that, I would still say we don't know what we don't know. Yeah. And so, yes, there are lists. And let me just tell you, sister, the list continues even when you're in a relationship. There's still things that I would like in a relationship that I set my intention on and things like that. But it's a matter of also being aware of what part we play in the creation, right? And so, when you bring in, I'm going to use the negative first. When I bring in Gil's former partner, or I didn't really have old boyfriends that were negative. They just weren't the one. There wasn't anything horrible or, that I learned really, I don't think, from the relationship. Well, one was kind of a big baby, but.
Well, even it doesn't, I don't think it has to be really, really negative. It's just, if it isn't the one, what did we learn? What was it that caused us to not connect in that way? What was it that caught,
Right. And it was the one for right then.
Right.
I mean, it was the one. It just wasn't the one forever.
Which one am I?
The jury's still out. You're the one for today.
Okay. So good.
So, okay. So how do we deal with that? How do we let go, or how do we, what are the steps that we take to get past that?
I'm thinking about Shay's comment about the lists, and the thing I think that happens as well, and we have to be a little bit cautious of, and that is that sometimes we have lists, and we have very specific items that we check off a list. And unfortunately, that can cause us to miss out on something else because we've already eliminated something because it didn't have or had something we didn't want on our list or whatever it was, you know. And we see this in relationships. We see this in purchasing a new couch, or I mean, you know, whatever it is. There's pluses and there's minuses, and if we get too hung up on exactly following what we think because we've learned this so clearly in our previous life, we may miss out on what's possible because we just don't have the vision to see the possibility.
Right. So, so I think there's different levels of letting go, right? I mean, so why do we? Oh, sorry. Henry the dog is licking my toes. And for those of you that watch our show a lot, you know that Henry likes Gil more than me. He doesn't really talk to me, so I didn't really want to like tell him no. But it tickled. Sorry. So how do we? So when is it positive and when is it negative? Right? I mean. How do we learn from it? How do we make it positive? How, you know, I mean, I'm also fascinated really by things I was reading about letting go having to do with our attachment styles. And I don't want to get into this because I'm not an expert, but I would love someone who is an expert. If you know anyone that it wants to talk about attachment styles, because I think it's really important. Like, how do we attach, you know, to love? If we've been through trauma, or we attach in a different way, where there's a different, you know, there's a different need. You know, if we're unattached, we're able to just let go and move on, and you know, and so I feel like. I forget what it's called, but that I'm pretty attached. That's the bottom line. I'm pretty attached. I can tell you about my boyfriend from kindergarten. I just can't. Christopher Shea. I just can't. And
if you're out there, Christopher, send us a note.
Christopher, yeah, anyway. Well, he became an actor, so I got to watch him like a little bit through life. Anyway. But I mean, I can tell you about all of the people I've had a crush on, all the people that have been my boyfriend, or, you know, and same with friends. I mean, like we talked about, this doesn't have to only be a love relationship. Like I have deep connection to like the friends that I lost in high school, or, you know, or elementary school.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's totally understandable. Totally understandable.
You know, but so, I mean, I know that's my attachment style is attached, very attached. So if you're in my life, you're attached. Whereas other people detach easier, you know?
Yeah. And that's a skill at some level, I think, is understanding how we can walk through different kinds of experiences, knowing or experiencing them ending, and move from feeling somehow attached in a negative way to being able to be attached to the positive and be grateful for them and move on. You know what I mean? I mean, it doesn't have to be forever to be good. It doesn't have to be for a long time to be good. It can be for a short time. It can be that job that I need right now, and it's great and I love it, and 6 months later it's done. You know what I mean? That kind of idea, whether it's a job or a person, an acquaintance, whatever it is.
Okay.
See, folks, this is what happens when you communicate with each other. Sometimes it doesn't come across.
Well, I hear you, and I'm just not on that track, but I
Okay.
hear you.
Well, I was just thinking about the attachment aspect of it.
Right.
Okay, Shay says the lists are mostly deal breakers. I'm open into infinite possibilities. Yes, Shay, I hear you, and I imagine, but that's what we all have to kind of be clear about is are we being too specific, or we just have a couple things that we're really clear about, and that's
And or can we be specific and open at the same time?
well, that's a good question.
Because I think that's my style too. I think that no, I mean I mean it's so often like when I talk about a partnership with you, if I had gone surface by what I wanted, what you wanted, what we thought would work, we wouldn't have even gotten far.
No,
We
no.
wouldn't have gotten far because we would have cut it off way before we ever got to the truth of who we were and what we were here to do.
We wouldn't gotten past that cup of coffee date kind of idea.
Right.
You know, that
we
first
wouldn't gotten
thing.
through the first meeting. Yeah. And I say that because what would have been my deal breakers on my list didn't match up on, on paper. However, when I met Gil, there was a part of me, and ladies and gentlemen, if you are not into the woo-woo aspect of things, this is going to sound very woo-woo. So buckle up. So when I met him, I could see the truth of who he really was. And I knew that there was more there. And I held that space for him to become who he is. Yes, it is my fault. But you know what? Does that make any sense? Because I really think like if I had just gone, oh yeah, I mean, not only the what do you call it? Logistics. No, not he's too tall, he's too short. Not that piece. Not the cosmetics of it, but even just the way we both thought, it appeared to be totally opposite.
Yeah. Yeah.
It appeared to be totally opposite. Totally opposite. Like there was nothing we could agree on, which seemed to fascinate us both. And something kept it going. So I say that to say, like, there's a part of me that, yes, I specifically knew that I wanted somebody who would support and love and understand me and, numerous other things. And in the end, that's what this is. That's what that was. However, it didn't look like, roses in the beginning. It was a journey. It's still a journey at times, but it was a journey and it was a rocky road and it took us through ex-wives and battles in court and all kinds of things that I had to know really who he was more than he did.
Yeah, that's true. And I've said on many occasions that one of the best things that's ever happened to me is your ability to see who I am, and I feel you have that ability in general. That's something you do with a lot of people.
Thanks.
You see, you truly do the practitioner thing, and you see who they really are, and you hold that for them, and that's powerful. That's powerful, and it's especially powerful in this kind of relationship.
Yeah, and I think that so that's really another part of the question is how do we take that aspect into the workplace or the next relationship or whatever and kind of weed out, hone out, just like Shay said, there are good parts and there are parts that you learn from and you go, that's great. I don't need to do that again. I get it. And there's times when you find yourself doing that again. doing things, and you're like, okay. And it brings up where you can identify that maybe, or, be more aware of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, it's that thing where where there's a balance between really holding and seeing someone for who they are, and and speaking that, or somehow sharing that with them in a sense, not just, oh, I see a really be, so I'm going to be okay with who they are now and just do whatever. You know what I mean? It's a difference. It's a calling people forth to who they are, not just giving them excuses because you know who they really are.
Yeah. No, and yes, and along those same lines, I think that both you and Shay brought up great points. Last week, Shay talked about no matter what, it includes radical love,
Mm-hmm.
and and you talked about wherever you go, there you are, kind of thing. That it's always you in the relationship, and so when I think about, even so, I had a situation yesterday with. I got a call from my sister, who we had been texting about a situation with one of the kids, and the text didn't get my text. My text to her got there late, so she was
Delayed like by 12 hours or
yeah,
something.
it got there the next day, so she was responding to it as if it was happening in the now, and she called and she was all panicked, but I didn't know that she hadn't gotten it, and she didn't know that I hadn't sent it. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, and she's like, well, is he there now? Because she thought the kid was here asleep. I'm like, no, he's in school. What? And it was this whole thing. And then when we figured it out, she got really mad at me, and she was like, we can't do this like this anymore. We can't, and I was like, in the moment, I just had to breathe and let it be, and go and let it go. That's not what I did when I hung up. I am not that spiritual.
She did vent a little.
I turned to Gil. It was like, oh no, she didn't. There is so, but I mean, but I knew enough in that moment not to process it with her. And I knew that she needed to go through her feelings about what she'd been feeling all morning, because she thought a whole different situation was happening. And I need to go through my feelings about being wrong, because I don't like to be wrong and I don't like to be in trouble. I just, if you say to me, did you? Chances are, if I didn't, I'm going to feel really bad that you think I did. So working through all that, it's like, where do we, how do we get to the place where we can breathe in that moment? And I did. I breathed on the phone and I said to her, I'm so sorry that this got messed up. I didn't take blame for it, but I did say I was sorry, because I knew she needed to hear it. And like, where do our relationships, like the past ones, how can they inform us? How can they guide us? How can we use them in a way to really move us forward?
Well, I think interesting, like in that example, we're calling on moving through feelings that don't even necessarily make sense to us, but we can see what's going on at some level.
And we're calling on Don Miguel Ruiz, saying, don't take it personal.
Don't take it personally, because it's not. I mean, in the moment, it's someone saying, I'm hurt and this is hard, and I'm, and I was scared, and all of that.
And why can't you fix it?
Right. What the hell's wrong with you? And it's not really what the hell's wrong with you. It's like, why can't it be right?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I have to go through this? Whatever the thing is. And I think that's part of the deal.
Yeah. So how do we pick? How do we take what we need into the next relationship, and use it as a stepping stone, use it as something good. And the stuff that wasn't good is also good because we've learned, and that's a celebration that we don't have to do it that way anymore on some level.
Well, and I think, we talk about this philosophy of new thought, etc. It's the idea that, it's all God and it's all love and it's all happening, and all of it has to be of value
Right.
to my life, and so whether or not it felt good, looked good, seemed good, what came out of it, what have I learned? Who am I now? Have I taken advantage of whatever that is and allowed it to grow myself? Have I become more compassionate? Have I become more loving? Am I able to sit with my partner, you, today, and really be compassionate? And sometimes I struggle with that. It's hard sometimes, but that's what I want to be. And I know from experience that's where I should be. And even with the ex, it's learning, how can I be compassionate for where that person is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's a whole different topic. No, but really, that's a whole different topic of, how where we land with those relationships in our life that didn't work.
Didn't pan out.
Forgiveness or acceptance, or just an allowing of what is, and knowing that it's kind of like what we've all learned now from 40 years of hearing Dr. Phil or Oprah or somebody say, your parents were doing the best that they could. Everybody's doing the best that they can, in that moment. And, is that true? I don't know, but it seems like there's really no other option because that's what they did.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Could they have been better? Just a note, Shay said a little earlier, I'm not asking for qualities that I don't possess when she's writing her lists. But right now, I think
I really learned it's way more about me than it is about the other person. Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah, I mean, I think
it's my perception. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so true. And that's, it is way more about us, and at the end of the day, we're the only person here.
The criticism, I think sometimes that we have, or we think about with the kind of the woo-woo stuff and people meditating and people looking to the inside and then going, to their therapist and learning about themselves, whatever track they're on, but where they're looking at themselves, and sometimes people get like, that's you're not caring about the world, you're not whatever. And the reality is, however I'm showing up in the world is hugely about how I'm showing up for me, or how I'm understanding me, or how I'm, I can show up to the world in a much more loving manner if I have some idea where things and feelings and stuff come from within me.
Right.
Because then I can let it go much easier, because I can go, oh, I know where that's it. Fine, let that go. It's not about me. It's whatever the thing is, I can be there with it.
Well, and I think, yes. And I think the truth about that is that when we're in other relationships, again, whether it's romantic or otherwise, generally when they end or when we stop, there's some kind of thing that's happened. So there's some kind of feelings, there's some kind of resentment, there's some kind of pain, there's some kind of misunderstanding, there's something. I mean, even if it just fizzled out and disappeared, generally we're like, I'm not really sure why that happened. So there's some kind of feelings, and it's like, until we tackle those feelings, I mean, I think that's what helps clear the palette for the next relationship. Because if I'm feeling in my past relationship, oh yeah, they didn't really value me for some reason, or they didn't really understand something, and then I come into my relationship with you, and you have a moment of going, wait, I don't know what you're talking about. I go, and I react, right? Because that's my old pattern. So I think one of the first steps is kind of just identifying the feeling tone, maybe around um, whatever relationships have been let go of, or you're not in, or does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know a lot of mine are like, I mean, with friends, it's kind of sadness.
Mm.
With old boyfriends, there's more reasons. It's easier to pinpoint, like, yeah, no, we just didn't have enough things in common, or this didn't do that, or with friends, it's a little different. But I mean, I think if we pinpoint that, and then we start to look at what our resentments are, what our feelings are, what our fears are, what our pains are, then we can be aware when they come up again and treat them differently.
And I think that goes to, you were talking about how often things end in some kind of conflict, and extreme emotions or something. And I think at some level we're taught that, and also that we just, the reason we have to look at that is because more than likely, at least a portion of that is because we couldn't, we needed to find a reason that would rationalize whatever we were really feeling to get out of the relationship, to step away. We needed to say, oh, they don't treat me fairly. Oh, they don't do this. And then I can justify why I'm just not feeling like this is where I need to be. Or, you know what I mean?
Yes. And I would go even a step further than that and say, so in that experience, what was happening for you? Was it that you didn't know how to express anger, or you didn't know how to express your needs, or you didn't know how to express your fears? Because it's always going back to ourselves. Unfortunately, there's no time off. It's back to you, Robyn. So, where is that place, and so how do we stay aware of that and forgive ourselves and let go of those things? All right, I want to catch up with Shay. Shay says she loves herself so much. Relationship to God first.
And yeah, that's a process. That's a process to find that love of ourselves. We're seeing that in people we know that are struggling with that exact thing.
And she says, many of my old relationship issues are due to my own idiocracy and super poor choices. Everything is different now because I'm different. Thank you, Jesus.
Well, yes, everything's different.
Stemming from trauma.
Everything's different because I'm different. And what you said earlier, Shay, it's perception. It's what perspective we put. Like you said, you've come out of trauma. So what has been the attitude, the perception, the story about trauma, and how can I work that to the place where it becomes an experience in my life, and this is what I now know, instead of responding from it, if you will.
And I would even say that, a lot of the times we think we have to figure it all out and figure out the whys and the wherefores of it all, and, go to therapists that'll take it back to our childhood or beyond. And I don't know I mean, sometimes that works, and I'm not putting that down, and I think that's great if you can do it and it works. And at the end of the day, I mean, I think even in what Shay's saying, Shay's done a lot of work to get where she is. And I think, but at the end of the day, the key is forgiveness. And you may have to let go and forgive things that you don't even know were there. There's so many components to it all, and people that have played a part in it, and what if our prayer was truly just to really release and let go and let God, and letting go of all the details. Like, I love the story you told the other day about I want to say Mary Baker. It's not Mary Baker. Christian Science people and her body and forgiveness.
Myrtle Fillmore.
Yeah.
Myrtle Fillmore, co-founder of Unity.
Tell the short version.
The short version is that she had been a sickly person most of her life, and that in part it came from her family told her that there's always a sick one and you're it. And so that continued until she finally, as an adult with kids, engaged her mother-in-law and went in her room and stayed there for like 2 years, and she forgave. She asked for forgiveness from each of the cells in her body, and then she blessed all of her cells and organs and all of that, forever speaking badly about them or anything like that. So there's that thing of forgiveness that's so important, and she that changed her life. Her life changed her trajectories. It took her about 2 years, but it changed trajectories.
And what I love about that is that we don't even know every cell in our body.
No.
You know what I mean? We don't. And
Hello.
so what to me it spoke to was really just continuing the exploration and being open and continuing the forgiveness, knowing that it's just not always done with one prayer and one, practitioner session, and just really being open and continuing that and really standing in that truth.
Well, and I think too, we don't have to know. We don't even have to know who's been impacted, how they've been impacted, why they impacted us in the way they did, any of that, to be able to stand in a place of forgiveness and to offer that out, because we don't know the story behind whatever happened over there. Whoever this person is, what happened when they were 12 and what happened when they were 12, and so if we can stand in that forgiveness, we give that opportunity for the person or our bodies or some situation to work itself out in a different way.
Yeah. And Shay says, forgiveness is a process for me. 70 times 7 is 1,490 times. Well, that's not the exact math on that, but I like that you're an overachiever. It doesn't matter. You can't do it too many times. So, it is a process. It's a process, and it's it's a daily thing. I mean, what would happen if that was really just the way we started our day on some level?
Mm-hmm.
But I think especially when we're talking about old relationships, and all of that, what would happen if the people I felt sad about not having in my life, if I called them,
Mm-hmm.
I know what would happen for you, because the people that felt sad about not having you in their life called you and you didn't answer. No, but I'm serious. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, there is that possibility.
Yeah.
And so, it's an ongoing process. Yeah. Shay says, whoops, feels like it. Yeah, exactly. That was exactly my point. It's like, no, it's not. it's no small job. The number's unimportant. It's the continual process of being able to get to that place. So
Wow. Okay, everybody.
we're
You'll
at
have to
that
forgive
place.
us because we're coming to the end. Here we go. Thank you so much for being with us today. This has been fun. And those of you who didn't chime in, we missed hearing from you because we love to hear from people. And we love to answer questions. We love to share your thoughts.
We do,
all
and we
those
see
things.
you out there. We see you. We know you're there.
We know who you really. Oh, wait, that's another thing.
So we will be back next week, and we will see you then. But until then, all of this conversation really leads to one thing, and that is that there is only love, and we do need to rock it because it needs to be felt all over the world. And we know that you're ambassadors of that, and we appreciate you taking the love out into the world. So keep on rocking the love, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Peace.